won't you spare me over till another year?
I didn't know Margaret during her life, but since her death I feel that I've got to know Margaret quite well. She was 87 at the time of her death, and I had the task of trying to trace her family. Without success, I have to say, because unfortunately none survive her. And so I'm here today to say goodbye to Margaret in place of family and friends who really should be here instead of me.
Well, what is this that I can't see with ice cold hands taking hold of me?
You know, none of us want to really confront our own mortality. But let me tell you, I often think, there but for the grace of God go I, because this could happen to any one of us.
I'm alive.
It could happen to me, it could happen to you, just depending on the circumstances of your life as it goes along. And it's rather a sobering thought. I can't bear the thought of dying in the same lonely circumstances as I see these people have died in.
Almost 2.5 million old people in the UK are living below the poverty line. Many of them fought a war defending the freedom we now enjoy. But today, they find themselves living in isolation, facing their last empty years suffering verbal and sometimes physical abuse at the hands of relatives or carers, being shunted from one care home to another.
We want to put an end, insofar as is humanly possible, to the situation where people are faced with poverty and old age, because I don't want there to be any forgotten people in the Britain that we want to build.
Just how well are we caring for society's most vulnerable members?
Edie lives in a local authority care home in the south of England.
Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream, make him the cutest that I've ever seen. Give him 2 lips like roses and clover, then tell him that his lonesome nights are over. Sandman, I'm so alone, don't have nobody to call my own. Please turn on your magic beam, Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream.
Edie and her husband Stan moved here 3 years ago. Just 6 months later, Stan died.
Hello, darling. It's another day. I wonder what you're up to today. I do hope you're happy, darling, with all your brothers. He was always singing, and any of the girls that you speak to, they'll all tell you Stan was the life. He was a happy-go-lucky man, but he wasn't ready to die. I did walk down to the shops this morning, got my cigarettes, and that's where I miss you, sitting on the wall, having a cigarette with me.
Edie feels her husband's life was shortened by the events that unfolded during the 2 years before they came to the home. Their problems began when they fell behind with maintenance payments on their flat.
My daughter's husband said, we'll buy the masonette off you and you can live with us. We'll look after you. and we didn't see any money, and no money came into our hands for the masonette that they bought. He made a new kitchen, new dining room area, and he made our bedroom into a bed sitting room, and we had to live up there. And then it started to get we were beaten. My husband was beaten badly. One time, my daughter's husband was beating my husband, and I just went up to him, I smacked him across the face. He threw me into the toilet, and he peed all over me from head to foot. It was quite a lot of things. But he used to beat my daughter as well, which I couldn't understand why she wouldn't let me call the police. And he kicked me violently. He beat my husband with an iron bar, and he had the marks across his back to the day that he died. And he had a machete that they beat him with. It was him, not her. And if we bought a bottle of sherry, he'd open it, pour it all over my bedspread. We weren't allowed to have it. There's such a lot of things that I can say, and I can't bring them to mind because they hurt me to keep talking about it.
Do these memories ever come back to you, Edie?
Yeah, it always comes back to me, always. We was really two frightened people. We were frightened to have the television on too loud. If I received any letters, I never received them, they were torn up. I wasn't allowed to have any phone calls.
Did you ever used to cry?
Unfortunately, I couldn't cry, and I can't cry now. Get choked, I can't cry. I wished I could, but I can't.
Eugene is 77. He lives alone in a one-bedroom flat and sometimes goes for days without speaking to another soul.
I was married for about 20 years. The wife died. She was the only person I knew, apart from my own mother. Brother and sisters, well, of course, I lost contact with them years ago.
Since he moved into the flat, he's been burgled repeatedly and feels persecuted by the children on the estate.
The first 12 months was all right, but after that, it was hell on earth here. You've seen my hands shaking at times, Cannot sleep at night. Everything was trampled on all over the place. I know the children that was in. They were breaking into cars and they were damaging cars. No control over them, because the parents would do nothing about it. I only just wanted to keep them away from my place, but I couldn't. I've gone through hell on earth here for the past 5 years. They broke my spirit. I haven't got the courage to even to clean the place out because I know it's going to happen again. Sometimes I wish I was dead. Get away from it. It's not right. I know I'm nothing. I've got nothing to look forward to. I'm at the end of my tether, at the end of my day.
The last time kids broke in, the locks were smashed off the doorframe. Eugene now has to hold the door closed with a chair.
I want nothing of a nobody. Just to be left alone and live my own life. All I can say is you'll never die in peace in this block where we live now.
Eugene has 2 sons who he believes are in New Zealand. He feels he will probably die without seeing them again.
I don't want them to know they have died when I do die. I don't want them because I don't want to put them to the expense, out of the trouble. Be best that way. My father before me, he died in my absence. I didn't worry him. I didn't know he was dead, the same as my brothers. I didn't know they were dead until I was told.
Who told you?
Oh, I met a chap from where I belong to myself. He that told me that they were dead. And he told me that my mother was dead. What could I do? I couldn't start crying, could I? Make a fool of myself out in front of the world, could I?
Who do you think will miss you?
Oh, there's nobody going to miss me. I've got no acquaintance here. None at all.
Having escaped physical and mental abuse by her son-in-law, Edie found safe haven in a local authority care home. But even this sanctuary is to be short-lived, with social services budgets under intense pressure to allow for spending on health and education. Care homes all over the country are being closed down, sometimes pushing residents into beds in local hospitals. Edie has been told that her home is scheduled to close.
Has anybody explained to you why it is closing?
Not really way.
We've only just heard that it's the council that's got no money.
Right, yeah.
So what have we got to do? Go out and get a collection up? Or win the pool?
She said yes. I am. All right, moved. All right, shut up. Would you tell me to shut up?
I really don't want to go from here. I already feel angry at the thought of it. This is home to us, it's our home. And why should they take the happiness away from us? Because that's what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Especially if they put us to another home and that home's going to close down and we've got to go all through it again.
Yeah, you're right there.
And I'm going to stick glued to my chair because I'm not going to be shifted.
Sheila is 71. She's been living on the streets periodically for 20 years now. Another homeless person, Malcolm, looks after Sheila, wheeling her around their home patch in central London. Her life fell apart with the death of her husband when she was in her early 50s.
I felt terrible, you know, I felt lost on my own, you know, and I got so depressed that the council threw us out because we couldn't afford the rent. They just come, the bailies come, took all the stuff and locked up. You had nowhere to go, me and the dog. I slept on the bench in the park, Clapham Junction Park, at the back of the courthouse.
Since then, Sheila has been homeless and has had to rely more and more on her wheelchair as her health has declined. She spent some time staying in hostels and bed and breakfasts, but has also become used to the privations of sleeping rough.
People look down on you because you're in the street. They think, oh, don't get near them, they're filth. And we're not all the same. There's somebody's bed tonight.
Yeah, not ours.
Especially old people. I've seen old men, old ladies walking along. They have to sleep out in the cold. I think it's disgraceful to see that. This is the way the country's going. I mean, the Prime Minister should wake up to see what's going on. But he doesn't. He turns his back on it. It's no good. He should wake up to do something. I mean, look after this country. I say sod other countries. You look after this country first. So you've got to sleep out the cold again. Nice people in lovely warm beds. Yes, I say, looking up, think, God, wish that was us. While they're in that lovely warm bed. Oh.
I'm freezing. It was quite warm last night, but it's going to be a nippy night tonight, girl. Tell you so she was so tired, it's unbelievable, you know. Didn't get a wink of sleep last night. You was crying all night last night, what for?
Just fed up.
All night last night you were crying until about gone 2 o'clock. I was worried about you.
and you're walking about all day. It's very boring. You walk around, you've got to find somewhere to sit, you've got to find somewhere to go. Your body's overtired. You snap people up, you don't mean it. It's getting no sleep, you're tired and irritable. It's an awful feeling, if you know what I mean.
Jump up. Go over that side there. Hold on to the chair so you don't fall.
Sometimes I can't sleep because you never know who's about. You never know what's going to happen. I sit up in a chair all night with 2 blankets over me.
So you sleep upright every night in your wheelchair?
Yeah. Just sitting up in that chair with blankets around me. I look down the road and I see people walking. And I think myself, oh, wish I could walk like that or go to work again like I used to. And I think myself, no, I'm done for now. I cry a lot. I cried all last night. I sit there and I cry many a time with a blanket over my head.
Thanks, Dave.
No problem.
So how long was she before they found her?
They reckon about a week and a half at the most, going by the date on the food.
When an old person dies in isolation and their body lies undiscovered for days or weeks, it's up to the local authority to sort out their estate and arrange a funeral.
She was just lying by the bathroom.
Sort of half in and half out?
Yeah, half in, half out, yeah.
Now, what can you tell me about Margaret? I mean,
She was a very isolated person.
A council officer like Marguerite has to build a picture of the life that has just ended. What religion was the dead person? And do they have family to inherit any money? Margaret Reynard was 87 when she died 2 weeks previously, and still living with fierce independence, refusing offers of support from the housing estate staff. Her body has been taken away, but otherwise her home has been left exactly as it was found.
there's loads of stuff here, so I'm going to have a real good look through. Bank of Cyprus, with a sum of money in balance on the 31st of March this year, which means that she did have a bank account and it was in credit. And so if I find any relatives, I mean, they would be the beneficiaries of that.
And what happens to that money if there are no relatives?
If there are no relatives and it's over £500, then it goes to the Crown.
The government?
Yes. And I absolutely hate giving money to the Crown. So that's a very good incentive for me to find a relative, let me tell you. This is an application for employment. Hilton Hotels International, place of birth Canada. So we now know she was born in Canada. And religion Orthodox. Now what does that mean? Could it mean that she was Jewish? I need to know what religion she is to do a proper funeral. Now here's a letter addressed to her in Casablanca, Morocco. And you see how varied a life can be. I mean, she's just been to Canada, to Belgium, back to Canada. She's lived in Morocco, heaven knows where else, and she's probably been to other places just to visit. She certainly wasn't, she was well-travelled, and by the sounds of it, very well educated, I would say. This is an identification card. There's Margaret. It's 1939, and her nationality is British. This is from the Benefits Service, and it's one of their huge forms. 12 pages for an 84-year-old to fill in. I think it's quite unbelievable. I mean, I've known cases in my own time doing this job where people have actually taken their own lives rather than have the fear of being thrown out of their flat. Date benefit will end 16th of April. Well, you needn't worry, dear, because she's died and you won't have to pay her anymore.
Fred is 76 and lives in the largest hostel for the homeless in Europe. He's one of the few people left alive to have been born in a workhouse after his mother was raped by the son of the local landowner.
My mother, she was only 28 when she died. I was brought up by my grandmother. My grandmother couldn't afford legal expenses, so there was only one alternative. I had to be born in the workhouse so that the council would take my father to court and make him pay a maintenance.
Just 16 at the start of World War II, Fred was recommended by his regiment for military intelligence and was trained to work undercover in occupied Europe.
It's an amazing experience when you have training to look after the MI5. You would be surprised at what you had to go through. We went on a mission. Sometimes I would go by air and drop out my parachute. Another time I would go by submarine, depending on where it was.
60 years on, Fred is still haunted by the memories of some of the things he had to do.
In 1943, I had to blow up a small boarding house because there was quite a number of the Gestapo agents were staying there. And I just had to do it and get away as quick as I could. When you see somebody killed, you mustn't give it a second thought. You had a job to do, and you had to do it, because other people may depend on your success.
Half a century later, Fred is seeing out his days in a room 10 foot by 7 foot. When you get up in the morning, Fred, what do you do with yourself?
Well, I watch the television downstairs, and so in general, there's not much you can do. This is, of course, something you get used to. Otherwise, you'd soon go mad. Your feelings are governed entirely by your thoughts, and if you don't think too deeply on these things, then your mind is at rest.
I feel sad in my heart that you're here. Am I wrong to feel that?
No. You're quite right. You're quite right.
Do you want to stay here? Do you want to stay here for the rest of your life?
Well, what can I do?
It is a lovely home, and it's a sin to close it. It really is a sin to close it.
Despite her protests, the council are going ahead with the closure of Edie's home, and as more and more residents are either moved by their families or die, the numbers remaining in the home are dwindling.
Some have passed away, unfortunately, and some have gone to different homes. At first, Michael and Anna weren't very happy where they went. It isn't a home that I would like to go to. But it's going to be a terrific upheaval for me.
Yeah.
I don't know how I'm going to take it.
The closure of Edie's home is not unusual. Local authority care homes are being closed every day to save money from the social security budget, forcing residents into private care homes or onto geriatric wards. Edie and Vic's fight has been publicised by the local papers, and they've received dozens of letters of support.
There's one from Canada. You wouldn't think they'd come from all that way away, would you?
No, from Canada, no, you wouldn't.
Another one from abroad. Another one is from a councillor on the opposite side. It's quite a surprise to think that we got 85 cards wishing us luck on what's going to happen.
The last chance to save the home from closure is an appeal in London, where a High Court judge will make a final decision on Edie and Vic's future.
It's good here, isn't it?
It is good here, isn't it?
Am I allowed to give you a kiss? One more?
Edie hopes that if the court decides in her favour, it will set a precedent that will save not only her home, but the homes of thousands of other old people across the country. The appeal has been thrown out on a legal technicality. Edie's home will now definitely be closed.
Why does my heart feel so bad?
We've lost on a technicality.
Well, it still seems like a very strange decision for a council faced with bed blocking and so forth to continue making, and I'm sure that the people in the health service will also be surprised, and possibly they'll be a bit disappointed about the outcome of today, because from their point of view, open with all of those beds filled would have allowed them to start to move people out of hospital who don't need to be there so that people who need their operations can be brought into hospitals.
Throw money at education, but the elderly get shortchanged.
Why does my soul
Bye-bye.
feel so bad? Why does my heart feel so bad? Why does my soul feel so bad? Why does my heart feel so bad?
From his room in Europe's largest hostel for the homeless, Fred is planning one final trip back home to the village where he was born.
I'll go once more to see the sights of the country village, have a look at the church, the school, and so on. And when I've done that, I think I've done everything.
Who are you?
I'm Rod King's son-in-law. My great-grandfather owned this farm here, old David English.
Oh, yes.
Remember David English? Old David English? Groove Farm? The
yes,
Englishes?
yes.
There was 18 in the family.
I knew Peter English. I went to school with Peter.
That's my brother Peter. He living down in Hertfordshire.
Your brother Peter?
Yeah, he's in Hertfordshire. I just live here in the corner here. I was born round in the corner.
Yeah.
I was born round in cottages that belonged to Peck, Mr. Peck. Remember Mr. Peck?
Charlie Peck?
Yeah, old Charlie Peck.
Charlie Peck, he was a church warden.
That's right.
Did you know the old village pub in St Margaret's and the post office?
Yes.
Richard Fuller.
Yes, Reggie Fuller and Mrs. Fuller.
Mrs. Fuller, yeah.
And she had 4 daughters.
4 daughters.
Yes.
Margaret. Deirdre. Joy. And Anne.
That's it. Your brain is brilliant. What is your name now? You're
Fred.
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 Frederick Charles Stewart.
Yes,
Oh, yeah, my relation. Yeah, well, yeah. Don't cry, come on. Don't cry, don't cry. Come on. Bless you. All these years, and I thought everyone had gone, and you've been up there, and it's made my day, Fred.
I'm glad I met someone who I knew.
We'll meet again one day. We'll always meet again. Farewell. For now. Farewell.
Yeah.
Fred.
Or, as they would say in Spain, hasta la vista.
Yes.
Till we meet again.
Till we meet again.
Yeah.
Fred particularly wants to find the grave of his grandmother, the woman who brought him up after his mother died.
thank you for everything. God bless you. It won't be long before I come up and join you. God bless you. Wait for me. Wait for me, Grandma.
Did you know your grandmother was buried here?
No.
Is this the first time?
The first time I've ever seen her. He brought me up when I was 6 weeks old.
Do you ever wish that you were a young man again?
Well, there's no point, because that would come under the category of wishful thinking. I have done all that has been asked of me. I have served my king and country when the time was in need, and I have never condemned anybody unreasonably. I've always thought, when you see somebody in a difficult position, what you would say, but for the grace of God. It could have been me.
This is the worst part. My heart is numb at the moment. Very numb. I feel sad that this has happened. I was very happy here, and I don't know what's in front now. I just hope that it's going to be for the good. We're fortunate enough to be alive and amongst the living. My young brother says I'm going to prison.
Why is that?
He rings me 10 o'clock every Sunday morning, and I've been sending the newspaper prints, the scandal as I call it. You're going to end up in prison, I'm not going to bail you out. We know where we're going. We're going to be moved again in 18 months' time.
And that's confirmed? It's
Yes,
confirmed that will close in
that is closing in 18 months' time. And we haven't had anybody to come and speak to us. You've come, but there's no councillors come, which they should do. They should come and have a chat with us. It's quite easy to talk to us.
Have you had no interest at all? Have you not had anybody
No,
come in from the local area to talk to you at all?
no.
Nobody?
No. My old fruit, you're moving as well, mate. You better like it, otherwise we're going to fall out.
I didn't know Margaret during her life, but since her death I feel that I've got to know Margaret quite well. She kept a card from her mother for 60 years. It says, "To my most loving daughter, Margaret, I am longing to see you, my dearest child, and I do pray that it may be very soon. Do take care of yourself, dear Margaret, and let us pray for the reunion to be very, very soon. Your loving mother." God bless Margaret.
Do not be afraid. I am the first and the last, says the Lord. I am the living one. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust, in sure and certain hope of the resurrection to eternal life.
Let me not see old age. Let me not hear the prophet help, the mumbled sympathy, the well-meant tactful sophistries. Let me not see old age. I am content with my few crowded years, laughter and strength and song have lit the beacon of my life. Let me not see it fade, but when the long September shadows steal across the square, grant me this wish, they may not find me there. Grant me this wish, they